Shalom, Yasharala. It's your brother Dawud from GMS Tampa Bay 07, coming at you with another video. Alright, first and foremost, I want to say all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great Millstone that rule well. And salutations to you brothers preaching this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth. Alright, in today's video, we're going to get into a topic dealing with Gad and Rueben. We're going to give you a little bit of background about them. Today in the world, these Babylonians are celebrating so-called Thanksgiving, Slakia. And when you go further into that, it's just another wicked, so-called holiday they have here, in which the scriptures speak about. So, nevertheless, we're going to jump into this lesson, give you a little bit of background of Reuben and Gad, and then we're going to get into this Thanksgiving holiday and how it's spoke about in the Bible. All right. First scripture we're going to get is in the book of Genesis, chapter 29, verse 32. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name, hang on. Start at verse 31. This is Genesis chapter 29, verse 31. And when Yahweh saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived, and she bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, Surely Yahweh hath looked upon my affliction, now therefore my husband will love me. Okay? And that's going into the birth of Reuben, and Reuben being the firstborn. Alright? And we're going to jump over to Genesis chapter 30, and I'm going to start at verse 11. This is Genesis chapter 30, verse 11. And Leah said, A troop cometh, and she called his name Gad. Okay? And Gad is going into the word fortune. Okay? Giving, more in-depth, background of their name, and ironically, today, the only place in America you can have a so-called casino is on what they deem so-called Indian reservations or Indian land, when technically all this land was theirs before, the Edomites came over and took this land from them. Next scriptures is going to be in Genesis chapter 49 and verse 3. It says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed. When thou defilest it, he went up into my couch. Okay, the second part is dealing when he went up to his father's house to defile it. He believe he slept with one of his father's handmaidens or something like that. Which that's against the law in the book of Leviticus. You're not supposed to sleep with your father's wife or anything like that. Or any of your father's women to be to cover all base. You ain't supposed to touch none of your father's women, whether it be one of his wives or a concubine or something like that. And it's not saying that he was dealing with his mom, because Jacob had basically 4 baby mamas. He had Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. What's her name? Zilpah or something like that. The 2 handmaidens plus Leah and Rachel. So. And I believe Reuben's mother was Leah. So, jumping back to the scriptures here, it says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, but thou shalt not excel. When you go into the history of the so-called Seminole Indians, so like if I didn't say beforehand for you newcomer brothers or people who don't know, the tribe of Gad is known as the so-called Native American Indians here in America. Okay, and this tribe that we're speaking about right now, Reuben, is the so-called Seminole Indians here in America. A lot of them dwell down here actually in Florida. And central Florida. There's a huge population of them around here. They have like over in Tampa, they have the Seminole Hard Rock. They have the Seminole Indians. A lot of the high school football teams around here, that's their mascot, This is where these people actually dwelt at, right here on this here land, And Lord willing, if it's still light outside, I can go to like a nature's preserve park where they actually have signage that says this is where basically the lost tribes lived at. You know, they actually have those signs up there talking about that's where these people live. Lord willing, we'll have time to go out there and shoot a little quick video of that later on today. But nevertheless, getting back to the scripture, it says, "Thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of my dignity, and excellency of power." And you know, Reuben and Gad, and you know, part of the tribe of Manasseh, they were known as the warrior tribes. You know, these was real mighty men of great valor and stuff like that. Reubenites, they was, you know, they was real soldiers on the field. Them and Gad. This is where, you know, the military get a lot of their techniques and stuff from. Whereas they speak of like guerrilla warfare, you know, and things like that. They also pay homage to you know, a lot of their equipment and stuff like that, like the Tomahawk missiles, the Apache helicopters and things like that. You know, they give a lot of their credence to the so-called Native Americans and the Seminole Indians because of how they fought. All right. Now, the next precept we're going to get is in St. John chapter 10 and verse 16, just jumping straight into it. It says, I will start at verse 14. It says, St. John chapter 10, verse 14. I am the good shepherd. This is Yahweh Shah Mashiach speaking, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Okay? And, you know, this is jumping into proving a point, you know, even the Native Americans, you know, because some of you people who you brothers might be coming into this truth, might be, you know, asking yourself, you know, wait a minute, these people was on the other side of the globe, you know, how do they know about who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, you know? And how can we sit here and believe in that Jesus is the only way and this and that when there's people on the other side of the globe that never even heard about him, you know? And that would be a good question, you know, and the Most High don't leave it, nothing, you know, nothing that's basically on your level not answered. You know, there's an answer for everything in these scripts, you know, and we're going to get into that right now, Lord willing, you be edified by that. But back in St. John chapter 10, this is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ speaking, whose real name is Yahushua. Okay, it says, verse 14, I am the good shepherd, and known of my sheep, and known of. Let me reread that. I am the good shepherd, and known of my sheep, and am known of mine. Okay, and as the Father knoweth me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Okay. So that's some real deep. That's something real deep. I am the good shepherd and known of my sheep and am known of mine. All right. It's like basically, you know, to try to put it to you on a carnal sense to where you might be able to understand. It's like, you know, when people say they you know, they get married and they be together for a long time, and you know, the husband and the wife, they just seem to know each other to a certain extent. You're like, man, I think my husband or my wife might be thirsty, or I think he or she might be here or there, or I got a feeling. They just got that feeling. I know my people. You know what I'm saying? I know how somebody, you just be around somebody for a long time. Maybe, you know, you're around your parents and stuff like that. You already know how they're going to get down. You know, growing up as a child, your friends or something might have did or said something or try to give you something, and you already knew in the back of your mind how your parents was going to react when you brought that home. You know, you like, man, I know my mom and them. You know what I'm saying? I'm known to them and they known to me. You know what I'm saying? Or your parents or, you know, your significant other might be like, I can't believe you did that. That ain't even in your character. You know, this is basically what Yahushua is saying about his flock, you know. His people know him and he know his people, you know. And even if they in a messed up lost state, it's still something in their spirit, you know. Take a look at Jake as a whole, or Jake here in America as a whole, you know. Before waking up, we was still spiritually inclined. We still praised and worshiped to the extent that we was just ignorant. We didn't know, you know, because we had been brainwashed a different way, but it was still in our spirit, you know. We didn't know we was the creators of the earth. We had been brainwashed and told we wasn't nothing. We was just like savages in trees and stuff. But yet we still excelled, and we still was like basically the trendsetters. Why? Because it was still in us to basically be the salt of the earth, you know. And so basically this is what Yahushua is saying, like, yo, I'm known to my sheep, and my sheep are known to me, you know. My people are still out there. They're kind of yearning for some guidance, so I got to go over there and give this to them. They're not just over there by themselves chilling, happy, and, you know, everything going good. He's talking about, look, my people over there, I got to go deal with them. and then I'm gonna come back. Even though they over there, they you know, separated from you, we still all in one connection. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we all still got the same thing. Just like, you know, in a real carnal sense, like, shit, you might be over there and I'm over here, but as human beings, we both gonna get hungry. You know, that's just what human beings do. I know human beings. You know, I've been around human beings my whole life. I've been a human being my whole life, so I know what it's like to be hungry. Eventually, you're gonna get hungry. You know, so he's saying this basically about his people. You know, he says, and as the Father knoweth me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Basically saying, yo, look, man, I'm doing this for my people because I know what they need right now. You know, I know what it's like to be over there on that side. You know, it says, verse 16, and other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also must I bring, and they shall hear my voice, and they shall be one fold and one shepherd. Okay, and it says, you know, it's talking about he says, I have other sheep that are not of this fold. Okay, and that's what we getting into, and the other sheep that's not of this fold, the fold that he was talking about. You know, you got to read that in context. At that time, Yahushua was in Jerusalem. You know, they was over there in the land. You know, what they call the land of Israel. And at that point in time, you had the southern kingdom. You know, the house of the house of what they call the house of Judah. You know, it was predominantly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the only three tribes that was over there. You know, the kingdom of Israel was already on the other side of the planet. You know, and we're going to get into that with this next precept. But you know, they were separated. When you go back to the scriptures and read, you might see a Gadite or a Ephraimite, or you know, one here or there, a Simeonite here or there, you know, that went along with the other tribes, but as a mass, you know, as a whole conglomerate. You know, you only had the kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom of Judah that was in Jerusalem, and the kingdom of Israel was already, you know, because when you go back in history, early off in the scriptures, you know, the kingdoms was divided on after Solomon, and the northern kingdom, they went into captivity under the Assyrians. Okay, and you know, they went into captivity early off, and the reason that the southern kingdom got so fucked up was because it's like you got two kids, right? And the firstborn or the eldest one go do some fucked up shit. Let's say they playing with fire. You find them, you catch them, you beat their ass, right? And you beating their ass in front of the other one because the other one seen them playing with this shit. Now the other one should have learned the lesson from watching the first one get beat. Now they want to go, as soon as you get done beating that one want to go pick up the matches. You're going to be even more furious. You can be like, now I know you just seen me beat that motherfucker's ass, so you're going to get it worse. And so that's what happened. The Most High was like, look, not only did you not see what I did to you know, the kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom, not only did you see what I did to them, but you still want to pull this shit? Alright, so this, y'all going to get it even worse. Y'all going into Babylonian captivity. So, you know, that's just giving a quick history rundown of how when the two kingdoms got split, you know. And we're going to get into what happened after that with the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel. Because the scriptures after that point in time pretty much just follow the kingdom of Judah. They just pretty much follow them on out, all the way up into when Yahushua come on the scene. Again, like I said, when he was on the scene, you only had the kingdom of Judah at hand. The northern kingdom was the so-called lost tribes at this point in time. So we're going to get into what happened to them. Let's set this precept back up. Let me reread St. John 10 and 16. It says, and other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also must I bring, and they shall hear my voice, and they shall be as one fold and one shepherd. Okay? Now this is in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 40. Okay? And for, you know, you new brethren who might not know, you know, the Apocrypha was, you know, a collection of books that was taken out of the actual Bible. And if you go on Amazon and you order a 1611, you know, the year 1611, King James Bible, you'll see it's actually in there with the table of contents, you know. But or you can just go online and just, you know, buy a separate one, you know, a separate King James Apocrypha, you know. But this is the book of 2nd Ezra, which is chapter 13 verse 40. Let me start at verse 39. And whereas thou sawest whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar the king of Assyria led away captive. Okay, so here they're giving you two context clues of what's going on. First, it says, whereas that saw that he gathered another peaceable multitude. Yeah, for time's sake. Anyway, this is talking about when you read up further up ahead, you know, in 2nd Ezra chapter 13, you know, Ezra is having a dream basically of Yahushua's return, you know. That's where they get the movie, the Independence Day from, when they stand on that building and that big light beam come down and blast all them in the first one. That's where they get that movie script from. But further on into this deal, he's telling you the vision about when, you know, Yahushua came, and he's giving you a history reference of what happened to the tribes, you know, because at this point in time, you know what I'm saying, they gone already. And it says, the words I saw is that he gathered together another peaceable multitude unto him. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. So again, they was taken captive first into Assyria, you know, early off in the Bible, before you read about the history of them in Babylon and stuff like that. The kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom, was already taken into captivity. Okay. Verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude. They would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they may keep their statutes. That they might keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. Okay, so they came up with this conclusion after their captivity had ran its course, that they would go into a. It says they would leave the multitude of the heathen to go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their commandments which they couldn't keep in their own land. So, you know, they was, you know, repentful. You know, they was like, look, we know we messed up, we went into captivity. After the captivity over, they be like, all right, check it out, we're gonna leave from around these heathen because they too much of a influence on us. We just want to go off by ourselves and keep our commandments, you know, that the Most High gave us, so we could live peaceably. So what they decided was they was gonna go, and it says that they would leave the multitude of the heathen to go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. They was gonna move off, you know, somewhere, but it says where mankind never dwelt, and we're gonna pair that with you know, further down they're going to give you more of a description. But basically this is just talking about America, you know. You can go ahead and check it off the checklist. What all these descriptions are going to give is only going to be one place on the whole planet this is talking about. First of all, the first clue gives it all away anyway. A place where never mankind dwelt, you know. But jumping back to verse 42. That they might keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them. He held still the floods till they were passed over. And the signs he showed them, you know what I'm saying, through the Spirit was more than likely chariots. You know, they followed chariots. And when you read into Christopher Columbus, you know, Columbus pretty much quotes this. He talks about this right here, talking about how he found a new world. You know, some people thought that he was like a lunatic, or he was kind of crazy or whatever. He was like, you know what, I'm a you know, read the scriptures. And he's like, he read in the book of Ezra about this landmass and these people going over there, you know. And so that's what made him come over here. But you know, Esau being Esau, he had to come up with all kind of cover stories and stuff like that to pretty much cover up the truth. Oh, you know, Columbus either got lost, or Columbus was doing this and Columbus was doing that. But really, out of his own personal writings, this is how he said he got over here, you know. It says they entered in the Euphrates. They entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river. For the Most High has showed them signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For that country there was a great way to go, namely 1.5 years. And the same region is called Ashereth, for they dwelt there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. Okay, so again, he's telling you, look, they went this long way through the water, took 1.5 years to get there. You know what I'm saying? Through the Euphrates, off, you know, taking off through the Euphrates River, giving you the distance and the landmass. You know, the distance it would take to get to this landmass, And it also gives you two other context clues. The first clue was they went to the place where never mankind dwelt. And it says, then they dwelt there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. Okay, so they was going to basically go to a place where nobody else had ever lived before. They was going to live there alone until the rest of the people found them. Okay, now when you go back into so-called Edomite history, Esau basically say he discovered a new world, in 1492. They got a little saying, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue or whatever. And came to the Americas and discovered this land. And it was the so-called New World, the place where, it was new to the whole globe. They didn't know about it. The eastern part of the globe never knew about it, the western part of the globe, They thought that the earth was flat and it was going to fall off the cliff, And so they just wound up, this is the Edomite history story, They wound up sailing across, getting lost, and he ended up over here, And when they did, they found the natives, So that would give you the breakdown to, they was going to go to wherever mankind never dwelt. Well, you didn't have it wasn't an international mixing pot over here like it is now. When the Europeans came over here, they only basically found one so-called race of people over here. It was the so-called Native American Indians, And, with these little stupid semantics, yes, the natives had, 100 nations or whatever like that. They broke it down into 100 different, like, states, more or less. Or they had, I think it was 100 nations, maybe 500 nations. They had quite a bit of nations here. They was all the same people, all the same people. You didn't have, a difference of people. Like, you didn't have Native Americans and Chinese people and Arab people and Cambodian people all living on this landmass. No, you only had Native American people, Well, you had Gad and Rueben, you had different tribes, but they was all the Israelite tribes. These was the 10 tribes like we just got it. So there was kind of like different little groups, but more or less they all still the children of Israel. They all came over collectively together as a group, and they was the only people over here. So when they came over here, if they was the only people over here, when they got here, nobody else was here. And they was going to be the only people there until the latter times when they would be, let me reread that. It says they would be there, then they dwelt there until the latter times, and now when they shall begin to come. And who is the they? The Edomites. The people, basically the devil. When the devil was going to come and put them in a subjection and bring hell upon them, and go ahead and judge them for, the things that they was doing, And so, like the scriptures say, that other great peaceable multitude was the 10 tribes. So Yahushua, when he, in the scriptures when he says, look, I gotta, basically go because I got these other, it says, and other sheep I have that are not of this fold, and them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and they shall be as one fold and one shepherd. That's in John 10 and 16, But that's who he's talking about. He's got his other folds, He had to come over here and let them know, And when you go into some of the Native American, so-called, what the Edomites call folklore and history and some of the stuff like that, they basically talk about, one, basically like Yahushua, And they basically give you the same story, And they worship the one that, the one, how they say, the one monolithic God. They worship a monolithic God. Just, there's only one God, And again, they wear, the fringes and stuff like that. So, like I said in the scriptures, they know one of each other. I know my people. Like prime example, I know my people will be wearing fringes and stuff like that. When Columbus and them came over here, some of their words and their language was like either broken or torn up Hebrew. They was also keeping a lot of the customs and stuff. I believe like circumcision. And again, like what we wearing here, this is basically like Native American, what they would call I don't know what the natives called it, but the Mexicans call them ponchos and stuff like that. You can go on Amazon and look this up as a Mexican poncho, or Native American garments or anything like that. But even if whenever you seen them in the so-called pants and like a shirt type of deal, they still had the fringes at the bottom, with the border of blue, which is told that we're supposed to wear, for remembrance of the law, statutes, and commandments, from that generation on through all of our generations. This is supposed to be a remembrance. This is supposed to be on our garments, And when Columbus was to come around and find that the Native Americans, far removed from the so-called heritage spot, they still keeping some of the customs, So, going back into what we just read in John, my sheep gonna know me, and I know I'm known in my sheep. I know my people know me. And I know they out there, they spiritually yearning for the same deal, and they're gonna be going through this here same deal. So I gotta go and comfort them. But jumping back into the scriptures, this is Numbers chapter 32 and verse 6. And Moses said unto the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war, and shall ye sit here? Okay, talking about Reuben and Gad. Whenever they, whenever one go up, the other one go up. They brother, and they like I said, they part of the warrior tribes. Yeah, I ain't gonna let nobody mess with my little brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go put it down for me and my brother. We gonna ride or die. I'm my brother's keeper type of deal. This is First Chronicles chapter 5 verse 18. The sons of Reuben and the Gadites and the half a tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men able to bear the buckler and sword and to shoot with the bow, and skillful in war, were 440,703 score that went out to war. Not really getting into the numbers, but just how they describe them here. The sons of Reuben, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men able to bear the buckler, the sword, and to shoot with the bow, and skillful in war. Like I was getting at when I was talking about the Apache helicopters, the Black Hawks, the Commandos, the Comanches, the Tomahawk missiles, and all these things like that. This is where Esau get all this from, because he know the top warrior on the planet Earth. These are the top warrior tribes on the whole planet Earth. Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh, they get down, they get real busy. I read this already, but I'm gonna reread this. This is Genesis 49. Genesis 49 and is it 19? Yeah, Genesis 49 and 19. Talking about the future for Gad. Okay, talking about the future of Gad, or future prophecy of Gad. This is let me start at verse 1. This is Genesis 49 and 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I might tell you which shall befall you in the last days. Okay, we're going to jump down to verse 19, because he's speaking to all his different sons. And the Gad, he's talking about Gad right here. Verse 19, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Okay, so now when we jump back to Genesis 30 and, or not 30, yeah, 30 and 11, it says, and Leah said, a troop cometh, and she shall call his name Gad, fortune. Okay, now when she said a troop cometh, she's not talking about a military band there. She's talking about a fortune is coming. When she said she saw a fortune coming, basically like I hit the lotto, and oh man, I hit the jackpot, I hit it big. That's what she seen when she saw, so she called his name Gad, which his name means fortune, because she saw a Gad, which in the Bible is translated as a troop. Okay, now when you jump over to Genesis 49 and 19, it says Gad, or troop, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Now, like I said, we just translated that word Gad back into the word troop. Okay, but these two words are different words. This is why we go into words here. And when you blue letter these words, they're different words. Okay, and we're gonna get it here in another scripture. We're gonna break down what these two different words troop are. Okay. Actually, yeah, because we're going to end on that scripture. But anyway, these two words, we're going to get it again in the book of Isaiah. But that other word, troop, there is like a band, a military band, or like military ranks. That's actually talking about troops. These are two different word troops here. One is like saying, let me reread that. This is Genesis 49 and 19. And I'm going to substitute the word Gad for the word troop that it is, but we're going to translate that word into what it really is. It says, fortune, a military band shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last, okay? And that's talking about what's going to happen to him in the future, you know? So these two words are not the same word, and you're going to understand that when we get to this another precept further down. But jumping back into it, you know, talking about that troop that was going to overcome him. This is Psalms 55 and 20. He put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than drawn oil, yet they were drawn swords. Okay? It says he... Salakia. I don't know what happened there. Salakia. But, let me reread that. Psalms 55 and 20. He put forth his hands against such as be with peace with him. He has broken his covenants. Okay? This is talking about the so-called white man, the Edomites, you know? When he came over here with the Native Americans, they had over 400 treaties. All of them have been broken, you know? He put forth his hands as such be with peace with him. He has broken his covenant. So he broke all his covenant and he put forth his hands to be those that be with peace with him. You know, when the Europeans came over here, you know, they came over here just straight greedy. Like they didn't even think about planting or farming or nothing like that. They came over and jumped right into so-called mining for gold. You know, and a lot of the spots they started mining it, there was no gold. So a lot of them wound up dying off by the first winter. You know, a lot of them died off because they couldn't survive, you know. And so the so-called natives, you know, the Gadites and the Reubenites wound up teaching them how to farm, teaching them how to survive through the winter and stuff, and gave them food and crops to sustain them. But what does it say about Esau here in the scripture? It says he put forth his hands against such as be with peace with him. He has broken his covenant. Okay, he'd be like, look, if you teach me how to farm, you know what I'm saying, we'll give you, let's say, some guns or something like that. He'd be like, all right, cool, I got you. You know, or I'm gonna just teach you how to farm just because I know you about to die over here anyway. You know what I mean? And then he wound up you know, killing them and taking all this stuff and just keep it moving, you know? Verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords, you know? And this is Esau's two biggest weapons, you know? That deceitful tongue he got, and then that sword, you know, that the Most High blessed him with, you know? Well, Yahushua blessed him with, you know, the Most High through Yahushua. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, and yet they were drawn swords, you know? Going back up to those covenants. Look, we want to make a peace treaty with you. We want to, you know, we can both live on this land.